Hello, and welcome to the first ever YouTube Live. And hopefully everything's working okay and the signal's holding up. I decided to do it in the house in the end. I wasn't sure whether to go outside and use the 4G, which we have in our garden, or to use the Wi-Fi. I did a quick speed test, and turns out that I think with the speed test and a little tiny bit of research that we should be okay from the house. So I apologise if the quality isn't amazing. We'll experiment with it a little bit over the coming days and weeks and see how we get on. Hi, Jenny. Thank you so much for tuning in. And like I say, hopefully this will be the first of many. So if this timing doesn't work perfectly for you, then please do let me know. Hi, Mark. Hello from the Parnabys. That's Mark and Vicky. Excellent. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, so nothing specific to talk about today. I made a few little notes just about a few things that I thought might be relevant that we can touch on. As you will know, here in the UK, it's 12 noon at the moment. And this morning, my wife and I went to the first poultry sale, the poultry auctions that we go to sometime. We went to the first one since chicken lockdown was lifted, and it was really quite excited. Oh, hi, Mark and Mike from the Netherlands. Thank you for tuning in. Yes, we went to our first poultry auction today. I did quite a bit of filming there, and I'll be doing a video all on that, but it was really interesting. We didn't stay for much of the actual sale yet. Hi, Shannon from South Australia. Hello. Again, thank you ever so much for being here. And Alan, awesome. You're out foraging elderflower. That's fantastic. Jeff and Deb from Australia as well are also here. That's great. I'm so thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled that so many of you tuned in. It's properly made my day. You know, as you'll know, this is the first YouTube live I've ever done, and I was a little bit nervous, and I set the bar at like 3. I said to Jackie, my wife, if 3 people make it, I'll be fine. Anything less than that, and I might be a little bit disappointed, but we're well above that. So thank you so much. And yeah, sorry, you're in Denmark, not the Netherlands, Mike and Mark. So there you go. And your daughter's also watching, Deb. That's brilliant, brilliant. And yes, Jenny, hopefully this will be the first of many. So one of the things I want to just quickly get out of the way, I don't want to waste too much time on, this video talking about YouTube Live, but this is my first, and we are going out at 12 noon on Sunday. And if that time works for you guys, then let me know. And if it doesn't work for you guys, let me know what time does, because obviously for all of us, for the whole community, it's advantageous to do these at the time that works best for most people. So if 12 noon my time isn't the best time for you, do let me know what time is. That'd be awesome. So like I said, we went to an auction today, and we saw some turkeys. We saw our first lot of turkeys there, and kind of had my head turned a little bit, because as you know, we're dealing with the issue with our pigs. We no longer are able to keep pigs in our wood, so we need another use for that space, and one of the uses is potentially for turkeys. And I'm thinking that, we've got kind of 2 options there. My original thinking was that we buy in some poults, some young turkeys, and put them in there, and basically just breed them up, feed them up, and then butcher them. But maybe we can think about breeding. It's just, when we started with the pigs, we started by buying young pigs, feeding them up, butchering them, and then that was how we kind of got in. That was our starting point. And that was kind of what I figured our starting point would be with turkeys. But when we've gone to this sale today and we've seen that there are some maybe, breeding pairs available, it maybe sort of changed my mind, and maybe we can sort of have a breeding pair and work that way. Obviously that does mean that there's a little bit more involved in it, because we'd probably be harvesting eggs and then incubating them, and there's more that can go wrong, but there's also more to learn and more fun and more things to get out of it. So hi, Bristol Veg Beds. So glad that you can join me. And yeah, so again, I'm not concluding anything. Don't know where we're going there, but I think more and more, the more I think about it, turkey seems to be more and more the solution. That the downside is that it would mean that we need to do a little bit of work a fairly big amount of work with actually securing the wood and making it secure enough for turkeys to be protected from predators like foxes. So that's another side of it that we'll need to look at. But again, everything in time. So I've been spending so much time in the kitchen lately. Hi, Sam. So glad you could join us. And yeah, so I've been spending so much time in the kitchen lately, and because we are processing so much milk, we are making. Thank you, Mark. That's a very kind thing to say. So we've spending so much time in the kitchen lately, processing all the milk because we're making so much yogurt and cheese and ice cream. In fact, the yeah, so it probably would involve electric fencing, and there's two different ways we can look at that, the electric fencing, and I think I'll probably deal with that in a separate video where we can go into it in a bit more depth, the fencing in the wood. But yeah, so we've just been doing so much in the kitchen at the moment, and a lot of that I think is because I've got my head on looking forward to September, and in September, obviously, as we all know, everyone watching will know, I'm doing my September self-sufficiency challenge, and I think as I gear up to I'm really sort of focused on it, and it's really brought a lot of things to my attention. So some weaknesses within the sort of things we can produce here, things like black pepper and white pepper, they're not something I'm going to be able to have for September. And I'm coming up with all sorts of creative ideas and ways around it. You might have seen recently my video where I was using rhubarb juice, or basically a rhubarb extract, as a potential substitute for lemon juice. So there's lots of things that I'm kind of experimenting with at the moment in the kitchen, and I love it. I absolutely love being in the kitchen. So it's not a downside, it's not a negative, but it does mean that quite a lot of my time is being taken up there, which means there's less time outside, less time, filming outside and stuff like that. 100, ever heard of the guy? This is from Pesky Chicken. Ever hear of the guy that did 100-meter diet for a year? No, I've never heard of that. What is a 100-meter diet? It sounds fascinating. No, never heard of that. Please let me know, Pesky Chicken, what that means. So yeah, I'm sort of gearing up to that, and I'm focused on it. I'm really, really excited by it, actually, and I've been tempted to bring it forwards a couple of times, but I'm okay. It's September, and that's what it's going to be. But so one of the things that's really become clear to me is to be completely self-sufficient, I'm going to need a lot of honey. Not necessarily for September. I'm going to need quite a bit for September, but for a cyclical nature of self-sufficiency would require quite a lot of honey, because we use it for so many things, or we would use it to replace sugar in so many things. When we're making ice cream and yogurts, I use sugar in the compots, and I may use sugar in just the ice cream base. When we are doing things like making jams and chutneys and preserving things, we use a fair amount of sugar. We're in our kombucha, which is what I'm drinking right here, in the process of making that. Now, we could replace a lot of that with fruit juices, but again, just the idea of the ability of honey to just step in so many of the things that we make or ferment or preserve here, means that realistically I'm probably going to need to produce quite a lot of it. And of course I'm very much at the start of that journey, and that's okay, but I'm not sure what the end goal is, insofar as if I wanted to step up to the point where I could be at the flick of a switch completely self-sufficient. I think that's going to look like quite a lot of hives. So that's something, again, I'll just be putting a lot more thought into as we go. And brewing as well. So this year, although we don't drink, I cook with wine, and I cook with apple cider vinegar and all sorts of alcoholic beverages. I cook with beer and cider when I'm cooking pork. Cider's a great pairing to go with pork, actually, within sauces. So I'm looking forward to this year brewing some of my own cider for the first time. And again, to do that, you'd normally add sugar. So this is just another area where if we wanted to do it, we would have to be using quite a lot of honey. So at the moment, all it is just the start of a thought process, and I'll bring you guys all the way along with me and see where we go on that. Now, I have actually found someone who will happily, and I mean happily, they're delighted to do it, give me some jars of honey in exchange for some goat's cheese. So That gets me out of jail at least in September if I'm not able to extract any honey by then. So yeah, I'm not sure where we're going, but we will see. We will see. And so when it comes to brewing, it's not something I've ever done. And I've got a podcast guest. The recording is all done. I recorded an interview with someone. We had an interview just recently on brewing, and we focused mainly on beer. But I've got someone else who I've recorded an interview with in another home brewing episode where we're going to be talking mainly about wines and ciders and brewing them from your own produce in your garden. And I learned so much from that, and I'm going to be using the things I learned in that interview to make my own ciders. And that's part of why I'm really excited to do it in the autumn when we've got apples, and everyone's got access to apples really, even if you want to go foraging for them. In the UK at least, you don't have to go very far to find an apple tree. So in reply to Pesky Chicken has written back about the 100-meter diet. He only ate what his homestead provided for a year. Only exceptions were some spice and sugar. And it reminds me of your challenge. So yeah, it is kind of the same thing. We're only doing it for a month. I'd be interested to know whether that was in the UK, because I think most of the challenges associated with what I'm doing in September come from our climate, come from the fact that we can't really grow things like citrus fruits. So yeah, and spices. So it'd be interesting to know. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Really excited about it. Mike, so mead will be covered slightly in that interview coming up, but the main focus is on fruits. There we go. So, and he was in Canada. Okay, and interesting, because I guess Canada's huge, isn't it? And it's got really varying climates. And he was in Ontario, and I'm not sure what the climate is there and how it compares to the UK. So, but I will check that out. It does sound super interesting. So, some other things that we've got going on today, right now today, I've got sourdough proving in the fridge. We've done our first knead, and as soon as we wrap up this video, I'll be doing my second knead. I'll be forming my loaves, and they'll be going in the oven. I've got about 10 litres of milk, which I treated yesterday, and that is now fermenting, turning into curds and whey. And again, I did that at lunchtime. So when this video is wrapped up, we'll do the sourdough, and then we'll get our cheese out and start straining our curds out. And then, just generally lots and lots of other dealing with stuff in the kitchen. And then it's actually a bit drizzly today. I wasn't expecting this. It's been fairly dry and bright for the last few days, and we have mostly dry and bright weather for the next few days as well. But it's a bit drizzly today, so we're making the most of that time here in the kitchen before we go out. Of course, we've still got to milk our goats and do everything else that are, necessary requirements every single day. But we're probably doing most of our work at the homestead today in the kitchen, and I don't mind that. I quite like that. That suits me down to the ground, and it got me thinking as well. In a future video, a video that I'll be doing really soon, I want to do one on kitchen gadgets and the kitchen gadgets that I couldn't be without. And those of you who follow me will know that I am relentlessly frugal, and I really begrudge spending money. And if I can find something cheaply that'll do the same job as something more expensive, then that's absolutely the way I will go. And I'm going to talk you guys through all the sort of kitchen gadgets that like I say, wouldn't be without, and that potentially can save you a fair bit of time and or money. And there's nothing in my kitchen that I've paid a great deal of money for. Everything is either fairly cheap or secondhand, or we've got, so our kitchen wand, like we use it instead of a food processor. We've got a food processor that we probably use once or twice a year, maybe even less than that, because most of the time we use this kitchen wand, and ours must be, I think it might even predate our marriage. I'm not sure if my wife owned it before she owned me, and we've been married over 16 years, nearly 17 years now. So, we try and look after things as well, and we try and get as much use out of them as we can. I suppose moving on, the only other thing to kind of touch on, I've had a couple of other messages. So you've just made your first batch of strawberry wine. That's from Jeff and Deb Shipton in Australia, and they're looking forward to the brewing interview as well. Hello from South Yorkshire. Well, hello back, Scout Group. And, oh, brilliant. And Sam Tancock has made yogurt for the first time in her dehydrator after watching my video, and it's a winner. Well, I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled, and I'm always thrilled every time I hear that you guys have done something and you've got the idea from a video I've done, or you've tried something for the first time. It's it thrills me. It's fantastic. It's why I do what I do. So yeah, that's just amazing. The only other thing that I wanted to sort of touch on is talking about outside and our garden. So we are obviously we're doing lots outside as well, lots of planting, and this time of year is a really exciting time to be around our vegetables, and I'm getting really excited. I just love walking past my vegetable bed and seeing it. One of the things we're doing, and again, so much of what I'm doing is with an eye to September, but one of the things we're doing for that is we've grown an awful lot of potatoes, probably more than we would normally. I've given over approximately half of my bed to potatoes, along with some container grown potatoes as well. And what that means is everything else was sort of a bit squeezed and everything is rammed in. We're getting as much in there as we can. But our first early potatoes are going to be almost ready to come out the ground. They're going to be coming out, the first of them, in probably just a couple of weeks, maybe 4 weeks, but certainly no later than that. And then there's going to be a successional stage of all of our potatoes slowly coming out as we work through the beds, at which point we've got a massive amount of space to then plant in. So at the moment, I'm very much thinking successionally, and we're doing an awful lot of sowing, and we're just making sure that as we pull those potatoes out, we've got more seedlings ready to go in. The last thing I want to be doing is looking at bare ground. I want to be looking at seedlings or even more established plants over that whole bed before long. So that's the plan. Thank you ever so much for your kind words, Pesky Chicken. Great content, my friend. Well done. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Love the idea of the kitchen gadgets again, Jeff and Deb. And also looking after the bank balance. Yeah, absolutely. And Scout Group, we've got a small allotment for our scouts who love growing veg. They are also in the process of digging out a wildlife pond. Perfect. And my wife has commented, yes, the wand was with me before you were. Well, there you go. I think, own anything that predates our marriage. Not from me. When I first met my wife, I imagine I could fit all of my belongings into a bin bag. And that's probably how I was carrying them around. with the exception of my bricklaying tools. That's quite possibly the truth. Oh, funny times. So yeah, that's I've run through my list. I'm going to keep this. Cheers, Alan. Thank you so much, and always for your support. And yes, I absolutely 100% would be lost without Jackie. That's not even it's not even a question. And she knows it, I know it, and everyone that knows us knows it as well. So yeah, I think love the 200th podcast this week from Jenny. That's awesome. So the 100th podcast and the 200th podcast were both Ask Me Anything podcasts. And if you don't listen to my podcasts, then maybe go and check them out. Everything's the same name, Self-Sufficient Hub, and it's all geared around the same themes and the same sort of thing that we're doing, which is just working on an everyday guy or girl type affair where we're not trying to, blow a massive budget. We're not trying to work outside of our means, but we're just trying to become slightly more self-sufficient all the time. And, that's what it's aimed at discussing. So yeah, come and check out those podcasts if you haven't already. Hello from glorious Gloucestershire. Hi, Rachel. Is it glorious there? We're only couple of hours down the road, and it's not glorious here today at all, but yeah, there we go. So I'm going to start wrapping this up now. I will still field any questions if any come in, but I just want to say genuinely from the bottom of my heart, a heartfelt thank you to all of you guys who have joined me. I'm absolutely stunned and thrilled and overwhelmed by the response and the number of people that are here. It's fantastic, and as long as people want it and as long as people enjoy it, then we can definitely do these every Sunday. So you know, if there's an appetite for it, then absolutely we can do these every Sunday at the same time. But equally, we can just do them once a month, or you know, however often there's an appetite for it. So I guess we can kind of wrap this up now and say I will see you next Sunday. And by which time I'll have spoken to a few of you on the Facebook group or whatever, and just found out if we want them every Sunday or a little bit more sporadic, and we will see. Please don't lose that ethos when you're a massive YouTube star. I won't, Sam. And yeah, thank you, all of you guys, for such lovely messages. Just what can I say? You guys are amazing. I've got the best subscribers. I've got the best listeners. I've got the best people that sort of get joined in and plugged in to what we're doing. So, you know, thank you all back. So, yeah, I think that's going to wrap this up. And all I've got to do now is work out how I do that. So I'll say goodbye while I figure out how we shut this down. And in the meantime, hi, Emma. And I will just catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.